Okay then. So two things right off the bat. One, clear out a title change. Actually happens when you're doing research. And two, to be honest, I'm actually an undergraduate student who accidentally signed up for the graduate paper presentation, but don't let my age deceive you. I'm ready to go and give you my ongoing research so far. Okay, so my paper is entitled When the Bootstraps Snap, Collaborative Agency and Class Identity in the Neoliberal Era. Near the beginning of President Obama's second term, he identified income inequality as a defining challenge of our time. Assuredly, with over 3.6 million workers, most in the service industry, earning less than or equal to the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, and the wealth gap in the United States as large as it was as right before the Great Depression, this is disturbingly true. Yet, the Obama administration has since curtailed its economic reforms, and critics have denounced his concerns with income inequality as mere elements of class warfare. For working-class Americans, political bickering in the Capitol has done little to change the fact that the service economy, which accounts for over 2/3 of the jobs in the developed nations, is the main source of employment available to low-skilled laborers. Left to fend for themselves, service workers have done just that. Enter the Fight for 15, a grassroots wage reform movement that unites low-wage service workers from all over the country to fight for $15 an hour and the right to form a union without retaliation. Demonstrating that they will not be mere pawns of capitalism, this diverse group transcends nearly all social divisions, race, ethnicity, religion, occupation, education, to form a united front against income inequality. The Fight for 15 formed in 2012 after a McDonald's employee calling the Make Resources hotline for financial help was only given information on how to sign up for food stamps and join Medicaid. The group has since grown quickly over the past 4 years into a nationwide movement representing a variety of service industries, from hotel maids to adjunct professors, and has successfully raised the minimum wage in many cities and states to $15 an hour. In addition, the Fight for 15 has spawned numerous particularized affiliates to fight institutional inequality, such as the Students for Workers' Justice, with whom I have performed the majority of my research with. The Fight for 15 addresses classic questions in anthropology and social justice, like how marginalized groups cultivate and deploy collaborative agency to affect social change. At the bottom rungs of the labor market, service workers are often perceived as passive, having little to no agency to affect change in their lives. This is what makes the success of the Fight for 15 in influencing minimum wage laws so remarkable and worthy of exploration. It is breaking the stereotype that service workers are only powerless victims beneath the oppressive thumb of capitalism. Equally worthy of examination is how group members are cultivating a social identity around class, in spite of a political climate in which class-based identity is muted and even ridiculed. Thus, through discourse analysis of online content, participant observation, and interviews, this study will reveal how low-wage workers use collaborative agency to promote a class-based identity and to achieve economic self-sufficiency. In the process, it will shine light on the inner workings of class, agency, and political mobilization in a largely class-blind society. The American labor force has often been purported to be exceptional, not in terms of quality like its connotation may imply, but in the sense that unlike France or England, no long-lasting, meaningful working-class consciousness has formed in the United States. While touted by neoliberalists and businessmen as the natural consequence of American individualism and Protestant work ethic, American exceptionalism, while definitely unique, was neither predestined nor egalitarian. Two complementary processes may account for the development of American exceptionalism: the systematic separation of workers from their rights as well as from each other. When the means of production become ever simpler and mechanized, workers' power increasingly diminishes because each person becomes ever less important for the completion of the final product. Under this structure, no one is safe from firing, as anyone could learn to perform the exact same task without much training. If workers go on strike, they are simply replaced. Notably, American workers did not just passively accept this transition. They organized and fought to keep their rights intact throughout the industrialization of the United States. Businesses, however, undermine such organizing efforts by effectively dividing workers through manipulative and coercive hiring and promoting practices that encourage individualism. With successive economic downturns resulting in persistent inflation and the increasing threat of outsourcing in the late 1900s, workers came more and more to view work as competitive, zero-sum scramble to maintain real incomes, which the only way to survive was to fight for oneself. With such strong pressures from both their employers and their peers, U.S. workers have been ingrained with the idea that hard work, personal integrity, and the technical knowledge are the keys to success to eventual upward mobility. All these ideas are part and parcel of the classic American narrative, that one can get ahead in the United States if one truly tries. However, this truism that those who want to succeed can is wearing increasingly thin. As ever larger numbers of the U.S. working class experience decreasing standards of living and sink into poverty, their long-held belief that it is hard work that separates them from the poor is proving to be a false distinction. Pulling oneself up by one's bootstraps simply does not work. This ideology-snapping realization may just be the driving force behind the 5 for 15's dramatic growth and string of successes over the past few years. And if the 5 for 15 is effectively tapping into the growing frustration of the U.S. working class with the increasing unattainability of the American dream, then maybe the United States will no longer be so exceptional. In order to gain a holistic understanding of the 5 for 15, I'm utilizing ethnographic methods for my study, including discourse analysis, participant observation, and interviews. I started my research by performing discourse analysis on the 5 for 15's online content in and around Chicago. I then began conducting participant observation and interviews with a localized college offshoot of the 5 for 15 movement called the Students for Workers' Justice. This group is currently organizing with service workers at Chicago University in order to give them a living wage and affordable health insurance. As such, my field is fluid as my research sites, both real and virtual, coalesce and disperse with the gatherings of a group across diverse places and times. In order to explore how the 5 for 15 online presence influences and is influenced by its real-world presence, I subscribed, liked, and followed my way into this diverse online social media sites and examined their content. To analyze these data, I coded every email sent by and every 10th Facebook post and tweet posted by the 5 for 15 and 5 for 15 Chicago on their web pages to find key themes. I created a coding scheme in order to capture and evaluate those themes found in text. After examining this information, I looked for overall trends such as what constitutes a successful weed treat, what images and identities are the 5 for 15 trying to cultivate for itself and its members, and do real members identify with these images? I'm concurrently performing participant observation by attending meetings and rallies held by the Students for Workers' Justice in order to build rapport and solidarity with its members. I'm listening to and joining in on conversations about why these protesters are there, if and why they believe in the movement, as well as recording the messages displayed on their signs. All this will help me elucidate the core messages and beliefs of the 5 for 15 in both behavior and in word. I am also using the snowball sampling method to ask members of the Students for Workers' Justice for semi-structured interviews. This ensures a thematically focused interview, yet also allows conversations to flow freely. Questions explore reasons for participant activism, collective themes, as well as ideals of class identity. Once my field observations are complete, I'll synthesize my discourse analysis, field notes, and interviews into a coherent narrative that explores workers' mobilization and class-based identity in the current neoliberal era. As my research is limited by sample size and localized to workers' conditions in Chicago, future research should obtain larger sample pools in cities with different ethno-economic political structures in order to better understand the development of collaborative agency and class identity across the United States. That works as preliminary findings, but as my research is currently ongoing, I only have a few preliminary findings. A recurring theme throughout my interviews with the members of the Students for Workers' Justice was that the Students for Workers' Justice is not about students pitying workers, but students standing with workers to bring everyone's struggles to light and to effect positive social change. But what drives ostensibly wealthy students to stand in solidarity with low-wage laborers? The answer lay in the equally recurrent themes of inequality and justice. Arising from more than just the ideological fervor of a liberal arts education, Students for Workers' Justice members make numerous personal, broad-level comparisons between the struggles faced by them and the struggles faced by low-wage workers in the current economy. College students face ever-daunting tuition increases, nearly unrepayable debt, and a bloated competitive labor market post-graduation. Essentially, economic insecurity, no matter its form, is still economic insecurity, and a driving force in both students' and workers' personal reflections and call for action. Thus, their ability to bond over shared experiences of worsening economic conditions driven by neoliberal policies appears to be the common thread that links all of their lives together, which ostensibly empowers them to fight in solidarity against injustice. This process of unification mirrors effects of homogenization on the labor force in the early 1900s, when the increasing similarity of laborers' working conditions and plights led to an increase in unionizing efforts. The group also encourages, nay requires, that members have one-on-one meetings with each other, so that they may get to know one another and their reasons for joining the Students for Workers' Justice better. These individual meetings serve a dual purpose. One, they allow intense personal friendships to form between members, making the group that much more dedicated to achieving their goals. And two, they help to homogenize and unify the ideology and practices, as less experienced members learn how to think and act based on what the more experienced members tell them. The group also hosts community breakfasts with the university's low-wage workers' families to build solidarity and cohesion with them as well. This tactic has traditionally served as a marker of labor movement success in the United States, as community-focused organizations have more resources and greater social connections to draw upon than inwardly focused groups when mobilizing. The data garnered from participant observation and interviews broadly support the discourse analysis of the Fight for 15's online content. The Fight for 15's emails and tweets heavily stress the need to stand in solidarity with others due to the exploitation faced by everyone living in a capitalist society. Egalitarian values were also heavily espoused as a linchpin for staying together in solidarity and affecting social change. But an interesting conflict between the real and virtual world of the Fight for 15 and the Student Workers' Justice was the ambivalence that real-world members had for online social media. While emails, Facebook posts, and tweets emphasize the need to share the movement's messages in order to reach a broader audience, in person, members know that hashtag activism is simply not enough to affect change. They need real boots on the ground to show lawmakers, businesses, and society alike that the demands for higher wages and affordable health care benefits are serious. Otherwise, workers have been and will be told again that they simply aren't worth it. My conclusions. I chose this field for my research because all participants have personally experienced the squeeze of neoliberal policies constrain their livelihoods, but are atypically responding to it by creating a shared identity over economic inequality in the pursuit of justice. Ultimately, these people are shouting that they are not the passive cogs in the grinding machine that is neoliberal economics. They are the bottom pushing back up against the top, and they will be heard.